selling?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
And her sister went to the University of Miami, dropped out of the University of Miami with one course left to graduate, mind you, because she thought she was going to get married to some guy, and that never came to be. So she wound up going back to school and getting a degree in education. She taught for 3 years, didn't like it. She went back to college, got a degree in nursing from Malloy, didn't bother to do that either. So you can see, and that's just from my wife's family. You know, I started out in pre-med, but at least I majored in education, and I was a teacher for 32, 34 years. You know, a lot of people come out with degrees that they never really use.
I know. I think I didn't use my degree.
Was your degree in transportation?
No.
Business?
Business, yeah.
Well,
that's what I said. It's possible that I may have used it. I just don't know I did.
You know, my brother-in-law, went to Syracuse, got a great education at Syracuse, majored in business, got a master's in transportation, and he went into his father's jewelry business, wholesale jewelry, And then I know somebody who I met on my honeymoon who got a master's in fine arts, and he went into his father's auto body shop because he was always handy with his hands and always doing something with cars, okay? And he never used his degree. So there are so many people out there who are certainly not using their degrees, and that stems from, I believe, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, when we went to college, with the exception of accounting, pre-law, pre-med, teaching or nursing, if you majored in time and space, you were a business major. And it was like, what the hell are you going to do with that? You really don't know. But it was a time when people majored in things like anthropology.
I remember those days.
It was interesting. It was great. They majored in art history. But when you got out of college, the reality set in that you can't find a job.
That was with sociology also, and almost all the liberal arts degrees, most people, unless they were going to be a teacher, there was no career for them.
It's true. You take pre-law, political science, you know where you're going. A lot of history majors wound up going to law school, okay? Science majors, some of them went into research, some of them went into industry, but the bulk of them became either pre-med or science teachers and engineers and accountants,
Nothing wrong with those.
Computers were big, so there was an influx of people majoring in systems analysis and computer engineering, okay? And there were many jobs then. But ask yourself, 30 plus years later, you're in your 40s now or pushing 50, and the bottom falls out in '08, and let's say you were in sales and you were a broker, well, you lost your job. How many people in industry, when the businesses cut back, lost their jobs? And here they are in their 50s, late 40s, early to mid 50s, and they say to themselves, what am I going to do? And you're talking about people who have a family, who may have children in college. What am I going to do? Can I pay my mortgage? Because in most cases, the house had already been refinanced 2 or 3 times over, okay, to get a lower interest rate or to draw out money, all right, from the equity, which of course eventually has to be paid back anyway. So what do? What do you do? You know, these are the things that are facing people now, and that's why, you know, people say, who knows what retirement is? People are working into their 70s. People are taking part-time jobs, 2 and 3 part-time jobs, just to make
Ends meet.
ends meet. That's not even putting anything in the bank, barely scraping up enough to put food on the table, paying their bills. And a lot of these people don't have medical, so they go out and they either have subsidized Obamacare, or they wait for clinics to come around and open up. You know, is it any wonder that when MSNBC runs their clinics in Middle America, you know, when they're in Ohio or they're in Minnesota or the Dakotas or Montana, that there are people lining up before the sun even comes up, because these are not people that don't have jobs. These are the working poor. These are the people whose employers can't afford to cover them with insurance. Now, granted, this was all before the affordable health care, but, you know, for a lot of companies, you know, you talk about a lot of mom and pop companies where they have less than 50 employees. You know, if you have 50 or more, you have to cover them. But the bottom line is these companies can't cover their employees. What are you going to do?
Not give them insurance. What else? And also, a lot of companies don't give it to them because they don't have to. If they're 50 and under employees, they just don't bother.
Yeah, sometimes it's worth it for them to pay the penalty. You know, that
if you're
there
under
is.
50, well, first thing, there was never a penalty till last year, which nobody's going to collect anyway. And before that, there were no penalties. If you're 50 or under, and I don't know if that was always the law, well, you got 40 employees, you have a good business. Why should you give up a lot of the profits for your employees?
Well, that's the thing, you know.
A lot of people don't care.
It's your company. You're making a good salary.
I'm not giving up part of my salary.
And that's how many employers tend to think.
Yeah.
And then there's another aspect of retirement that I know most young people don't even bother to think of as you get older, but you see more and more commercials on TV for Cialis, Viagra, okay? And for women, there are drugs to help produce estrogen. You know, when you're 21, 22, 23, 27, 30, and you and your wife or you and your girlfriend are doing it 3 and 4 and 5 times a week, you know, pretty soon nature sets in, reality sets in, and dare I mention, children set in. Okay, the biggest complaint, of course, is, you know, from the person who's home with the children and not going out to work, that they just don't have the strength. All they want to do is rest. And I will say one thing. I will say that our generation of husband and father tend to do more now than our fathers did. I mean, my father did what he could, but I don't remember him diapering babies, although he loved to diaper grandchildren. You know, it was a different story with grandchildren, you know.
Really?
I always diapered my daughters and my sons. It never bothered me. My wife was working, so we used to, you know, work together as far as the house is concerned. You know, it's no longer, this is your job, this is my job. It's like our job. If you can't do this, so I'll do it. You know, there are a lot of things to retirement that younger people don't really think of. They just think about a time when that alarm rings in the morning and they can just shut it off and close their eyes and go back to sleep. But I have to tell you, I used to go to sleep after Twilight Zone religiously at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, wake up at 5:30, wash around or take a shower, shave, this is before I had my beard, put on my suit, get out of the house by 6:20, 6:30, okay, drive to work, and I felt fine. I would fall asleep right away. Now, okay, at age 66, and it's been happening for quite a while, not just now, I pace myself to go to sleep at 2 o'clock, 2:30. I toss and turn for 2 or 3 hours. If I'm lucky, I fall asleep at 4 or 5, and then I wake up at like 10:30, 11. By then, if I had any morning appointments, it's all shot. You know, I have to make appointments now for doctors in the afternoon because I don't know if I'd make it in the morning.
Well,
you know.
Dr. Marc, I'm going to tell everybody, I guess, how many cups of coffee do you drink a day?
Oh, 10, easily.
Is that all?
Well, it's 10 cups, and I'm showing you the cup. This is more than 6 ounces. They consider a cup 6 ounces.
Yep.
The cups that I usually use are at least 12 ounces or more. So you're talking about 5 to 6 cups like that, which is usually twice the amount. So that's why I say, I mean, I remember one time, many, many, many years ago, putting up a pot of coffee. We were having company. This is before we even moved out to Long Island. And it so happens that the couple drank tea. I brewed 12 cups of coffee. I drank it myself. But it would have no effect on me when I was younger. You see? Now, and I don't know if it has an effect. I know where you're going with this. And my doctor used to say the same thing. Drink decaf. Well, the bottom line is, for somebody who loves coffee, you can tell the difference. That's number one. Number two, I really don't think that's the problem. Okay, I honestly, because I have gone a day or two not perking coffee, and I'm not jittery, okay, I'm not shaking the way people say they are, and I would still have trouble falling asleep. So you see, I don't think it's that at all.
Well, I would give it a little more. I would experiment and not have any caffeine after 4 or 5 o'clock.
You know something? I honestly don't think I could do that, because otherwise I'd be drinking sugar-free lemonade or something to that effect, or sugar-free soda. I don't like water per se. Believe it or not, water tends to repeat on me, okay? I mean, I know people that drink a lot of water, and kudos to them, you know.
You drink decaf here a lot of times.
Yeah.
And it's fine here.
Yeah, well, I've come to the stage in my life where, you know, regular coffee, decaf, I really don't care. You know.
Stop drinking caffeine at 4 o'clock and go to decaf. Get a good, strong decaf. Nice, bitter, with a good aftertaste.
I don't want it with an aftertaste. If I wanted an aftertaste, I'd go to Starbucks. I find Starbucks coffee, much to the surprise of some people who love coffee, to be too strong and too bitter. And I remember, I think you and I discussed this once before on a much earlier show, some marketing research company did a test of coffees, various blends of coffee, different places to get coffee, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, big name places in Manhattan or California. And you know what was the best coffee that they came out with?
McDonald's.
That's right. McDonald's black coffee. Just regular old McDonald's. The best coffee around. And you can still buy that off the dollar menu, no matter what size.
Well, I don't love Dunkin' Donuts. This was done by, actually what you're referring to probably is a Italian